Hello everyone, my name is Deepika Verma, Senior Research Fellow under supervision of Professor Rajiv Kumar Sir, Sociology Department. In this lecture, I'll going to share the functional analysis by one of the prominent sociologists, Robert King Merton. Let's see what he has described under this topic. Robert King Merton has been widely recognized as one of the leading figures in 20th century American sociology. He has made an important contribution to the discipline by successfully combining theory and research. As a leading US sociologist, he has become an influential voice of functionalist sociology in his own right. The concept of functionalism, which says that the view the society is as an organized network of cooperating groups tending towards consensus and stability. Merton reviewed the essential postulate in functional analysis and criticized and modified them. Accepting the functional analysis as a methodological orientation, Merton parted from the traditional functionalism and by noticing a shift from static to a dynamic image of society, he thus refuses the postulates of traditional functionalism, the postulate of unity, universalism, and indispensability, and distinguished between the functions, and also those observed consequences which make for the adaptation or adjustment of a given system, and die function, those observed consequences which lessen adjustment and adaptation. Further, he stated that these function and die functions may be either manifest or latent. So let's see them one by one. The functional theory presupposes that every element in a social system fulfills certain functions. But how does one determine what the function of a given element in the social system are? The sociologist only asks what its consequences are and not what its purposes are believed to be. The assumed purposes of some component can have consequences other than those that were intended. This fact has made Archimerton make a distinction between manifest function and latent function. According to Merton, manifest functions are those objective consequences contributing to the adjustment or adaptation of the system which are intended and recognized by the participants in the system, and latent functions correlatively being those which are neither intended nor recognized. In this way, manifest functions are the functions that are intended and recognized by the participants in the system. These are the functions which people assume and accept the institution to fulfill. Let's understand this by an example. Uh, uh, let's take schools. So, the schools are expected to educate, which means that everyone assumes that the main major function of schools should be to provide education, to give the knowledge to the children and provide them skills what they need. And in this way, the recognized and intended function of a school is to provide knowledge and to give education. In this way, this is the manifest function of the school. Let's take another example. The economic institutions are expected to produce and distribute goods, and direct flow of capital whatever it is needed, which means that economic institutions are assumed to provide economic support, provide the jobs, provide produce distribute the goods, etc. These are the manifest functions which are expected by the economic institutions. On other hand, the latent functions are unrecognized and unintended functions. These functions are unforeseen consequences of institutions, which means that the consequences, the results are somewhat hidden, not recognized. Let's take the same example. The schools have the recognized function to provide education, but it also acts as a mass entertainment to keep the youth out of employment market, which means that if the schools engage the young children and young people in education, so that they are out of the employment market. In this way, many child crimes are stopped, child labor are stopped. In this way, this can be the latent function of school, to engage the youth in education activities and keep them away from employment market. And in the same way, the latent function of economic institution is also to promote technological, political and educational changes. In this way, economic institution also give some have the unrecognized and unintended functions. In this way, it has a latent function. Now let's understand the concept of die function given by Merton. While most of the sociologists talk about the positive types of functions and the positive results of a function, Merton talks about a negative concept of function, which is die function. So the term die function refers to any social activity seen as making a negative contribution to maintenance of effective working of a functioning social system, which means the die function can be any consequence of the existence or operation of an aspect of social system that is judged to be a disturbance or a hindrance to the integration, adjustment or stability of the system. In this way, Merton in his functional analysis make a distinction between functions and die functions depending upon their consequences. Merton says that function increases the adaptation of adjustment of a given social system, while die function uh, lessens its adaptation and adjustment. The consequences of function leads towards harmony and adjustment, whereas the consequence of die function leads towards disintegration and maladjustment. Uh, Aspects of system often have both functional and difunctional consequences. Let's take an example. For example, uh, divorce uh, often has the difunctional consequence of interfering with family members' marital needs, but it also can have the functional consequence of providing a solution to the destructive conditions such as a family violence. Merton has also observed that a particular or some latent function of an element or a particular structure may provide to be difunctional for the system as such. Uh, for example, the manifest function of the regulation of drugs by the government is to protect consumers against injurious substances. Its latent function may be to delay the introduction of new life-saving drugs. In this way, uh, there can be latent die functions also. I hope you all have understood this concept. Thank you so much.